Welcome back. Today I would like to give you two examples for the importance of water for human activities. Two examples from Saudi Arabia. A rather hostile environment today with very limited rainfall and large deserts. Certainly not good environment for human activities. But several thousand years ago it was a very nice environment, a savanna-type landscape, and important for the dispersal of anatomically modern humans out of Africa approximately 130,000 years ago. To reconstruct these changes from a desert into a savanna-type landscape, we are using mainly two types of climate archives. Ancient lake sediments, which can be found everywhere in the desert today, and also stalagmites. And stalagmites are a little bit like plants. They need water to grow. So if there is abundant rainfall, then a stalagmite starts growing. And when the rainfall drops below a certain limit, then they stop. So growth phases in stalagmites from the Arabian Peninsula can provide detailed information about the timing of these pluvial periods. And based on our studies in many two caves, in a cave in Yemen and a cave in Oman, we were able to identify these pluvial periods. As mentioned in the introduction, these pluvial periods are very important for human dispersal out of Africa 130,000 years ago. And people had to cross these vast desert belts. And they couldn't cross these deserts when the climate was too dry. And our studies, and this stalagmite in particular, is showing these pluvial periods quite nicely. We have the first pluvial period between 130 and 120,000 years before present, and then another one at around 105,000 years before present. The next one 80,000 years before present. And this coincides with human dispersal and dispersal into Europe and into Asia. After 75,000 years ago, climate was far too dry, and it's very likely that the humans couldn't cross the desert. And the youngest pluvial period was the early Holocene pluvial period between 10,000 and approximately 6,000 years ago. So we see that availability of water and precipitation has an impact on human evolution. Another example highlighting the importance of precipitation on society behavior and societies is the collapse of the Himyarite Kingdom in southern Arabia at around 525 AD. The livelihood of this kingdom was heavily dependent on agricultural productivity, and the society had fantastic irrigation systems, including the famous dam of Marib. They had terraced fields, and our records show, also based on the analysis of a stalagmite, show that there was a significant drop in precipitation at around 525 AD. We analyzed stable isotope ratios to document changes in rainfall. And in this figure you can see a calibration, the results of a calibration study. And you can see the gray shaded curve shows you changes in mean annual precipitation. The red curve is what we've measured in the stalagmites, the oxygen isotope ratios, and you can see a fairly good correspondence between both records. We know that the stalagmite can provide detailed information about changes in mean annual rainfall in this region. And this record, this is now the entire record covering the last 2,700 years, and you can see there were major changes in precipitation. But what is very evident and a very distinct feature of the record is the so-called mega drought at around 525 AD, just at the time when the Himyarite Kingdom collapses. So what this record is telling us is that there was a significant reduction in precipitation, a decrease in agricultural productivity, and all these developments led to social unrest, and the kingdom collapsed. The interesting part of the story is also that historians assume that this change was very decisive for the sudden expansion of the Islam 100 years later. So we see that climate can have a cascade of effects, starting from social unrest, the collapse of an empire like the Himyarite Empire, and then even leading perhaps to a new movement like the rise of Islam and its sudden expansion.